Vyrah reporting for Unity. Another day, one less day here. Good thing. Um, Today I wanted to do something special that I do quite often. So it's not that special technically. We'll do some React. Let me just get into it. You can capture browser. Okay, browser. It's a browser. The sky, it's what's up, the fucking browser. Chrome, new tab. Okay. So yeah, wanted to react to a couple videos. I actually have quite a lot of fucking videos in behind, which is kind of fucking cringe, if you admit, kind of pathetic. Um, at least I respect my schedule. I have no schedule. I kind of do things on the whim. So we'll start with something that I actually really fucking like, and it is checking if my microphone died. My microphone betrayed me a couple times. Okay, it didn't betray me. Okay, so that was a joke. We'll start with something nice. Trailer of Night Rain. Night Rain? Yeah, from Elden Ring. Well, check this out. I'll probably have nothing to say about it because 12 out of 10, 16 out of 10, 1 billion out of 10, this game is something special, at least to me. So let's check this out.
Peggy 16.
The night farers, the will to cross the endless night and fight on, till every shred of their being is ground away.
Wow. Wow. Will they show my boy Astel? Best girl. Instantly best girl. Best girl. I see the best girl. I sensed it. That the best girl was shown in the trailer. Damn. I am wishing for this game to be a live service game. Like, nothing else to say. Please, From Software, please make it a live service game. I fucking beg you. You're the best. I fucking love you. I fucking love everything you do. And I fucking regret that I didn't overcome the Elden Ring. I had to cheat on Elden Ring to actually I needed to boost in my stats because it was my first my first how it's called, my first steel game, a Souls game. And basically well, basically, the thing is that, how can I say it? The problem is that, with that, I really, really wanted to. I enjoyed the story and the universe so much that I actually, cheated and I didn't got the full experience just wandering around and just discovering, what what the game developers wanted me to experience. And with Elden Ring Night Rain, I get this chance. So please make it a live service. I'll give you everything. You should definitely check out this game. The Elden Ring Night Rain is something that like probably will change the landscape of video gaming in some way. Maybe in a way like never seen before. So yeah, that was just to begin with. Love you from software. Okay. So this is done. Next on we get to actually some wow. It's been a while. I didn't react it from like AI created like landscape stories. So basically like these are like lore videos about WoW. I fucking love that, and I think that like it allows for like a better understanding and a better enjoyment of actually like the WoW story and how complex and like just intricate it is, like just how rich it is. So let's enjoy it together. Wow. Wow. This is what a worm like this could look like. Absolutely beautiful. Of course, you need to add complaint of the highborn. Best girl from the region. Best girl from the region. Makes me want to play WoW. Never mind, best girl from the region. She looks dark and mysterious with a mysterious past. Wow. Just looking how golems will look like, like lifelike is just something different, you know? They will look so pretty. Wow. Thank you so much. Everson Woods. Nothing to say much about. This wasn't a lore video, but like this is so appeasing to me. Yeah, thank you so much, Game Morph AI, for this experience. This was more of an experience than something to react for. Like this is just like serenity for me to think that like this type of architecture and this type of life forms might exist, you know? So yeah, let's get into like more intellectual stuff. Can you believe it? Bellar is such a good content creator. He's jaded about WoW. I understand why, but like I'll be fine. I'll be really fine. Like something that he misses in WoW, because you can see in his lore videos that he's really passionate, but that like he doesn't have fun with the game. And I really wish that like he finds the fun that he is like talking about, you know. But enough of that. He brings the good news. So Blizzard is saving WoW story. This is fantastic. Uh I want to know. I want to know. I want to know. Subscribe to Bellar if you haven't. Like, this dude is a legend when it comes to WoW lore. Like, just trust me on that one.
World of Warcraft's had this problem for a long time, but today Blizzard are actually introducing a solution. Now, as an example, if you don't know what's up with these guys, or this thing, you won't know what's up with the War Within's final patch, or World of Warcraft's next expansion, and you won't enjoy them as much as you should, as you could. You'll miss the detail, you'll miss the depth, and in many ways, it wouldn't be your fault. Not really. Lore is stuck in wikis, lore videos, sorry about that, and things outside the game. And when Blizzard does do campaigns, they're often blazingly fast, and they're in a tough spot. They can't rely on the depth of Warcraft's world because they know most people don't.
Blazingly fast, depending on if you take the time to actually fucking listen to. Like, there are like you know, there's like a bubble on top of characters that like allows you to have like extra conversations, extra lore. And if you read the quests, like you get like a lot from that. But like you need to just like chill the fuck out and just take the time to enjoy the journey, you know?
Really have much of an idea. That then waters down the story, and that signals to you that you shouldn't really bother. But now we've actually got a proper solution. It's real interesting, and they're not doing it in a
Okay.
one-off way, which is why I'm actually excited. It's called Lore Walking, the beloved Lore Walker.
Okay, I need to just like check if my microphone didn't die, because like I will love to, yeah, I would like to lose my footage. Thank you.
Show is back, voiced by Jim Cummings.
Oh, well, our work is so what a legend.
Blizzard have finally found a way not just to tell you the backstory, not just to show you it, but to actually have you play it. I've also got
Wow, no way.
Sponsor, you'll finally have the website that you've been meaning to build. So Squarespace is an easy-to-use site builder and award-winning templates, but they have developed so much as a platform lately. Design Intelligence is their mix of tools that help you access their 20 years of design experience easily. It starts with Blueprint AI, and that starts with a few questions. Once you answer those, you'll use their interactive design system to build your own template, just the way that you like it, but with them keeping you right, with designer-picked fonts and color palettes, all matched to your aesthetic, and then from there, you can iterate on your copy and your content. It's all seamlessly integrated, and if you've just been overwhelmed in the past, or you just want to start quickly with all of your bases covered, this set of features is literally made for you. And their core platform is always growing as well. They've got native video support, so you can have a gorgeous player, you can have video gallery layouts that are all interoperable with their e-commerce tools. It's real impressive, and when I needed sites, Squarespace was my first port of call because they make it easy. So, to get started today, go to squarespace.com/BellularGaming, check out Design Intelligence, and when you're ready to send your site live, use code BellularGaming for 10% off your first purchase of a site or domain. In the beginning, Warcraft started with the story being told in the in-game manual and these funny little cutscenes. And the way it worked is playing the game created a hunger. The manuals say to that hunger, Chris Mattson got a little bit more power. The sequels capitalized and all that. By Warcraft 3, Blizzard built out a lot. Then World of Warcraft comes in. It blasts the lore open, it crafts the world full of quest text. So no wonder that people fell in love with it.
I'll never not have a reaction seeing like the first cinematic, the first introduction to World of Warcraft. I'll always be amazed by how beautiful it looked back in the day and still to this day.
Lost within it. But now, for example, assuming we're going to Koresh in patch 11.2, well, to fully appreciate that patch, you would have to know the lore from the 18-year-old quests in Netherstorm, which was part of the Burning Crusade. And this problem is exactly what lore walking solves, but not in the way that, say, Witcher 3 or Yakuza 0, two 2015 games that recap their massive stories with a big old opening recap cutscene. No, WoW's is actually better. It's a playable recap, but it's not just a rehash of old content. Lore walking is actually adding in narration, new content, and it fills
Wow,
in major
no
gaps. So with that said,
way.
let's take a look at the first version.
No fucking way.
Lore Walker Joe is finally living up to his name. You'll find him sitting in the major cities, and he'll take you through a guided tour of the past, catching you up on stories woven through WoW's years and years of questing. So, here's how it works. A lore walking campaign is a curated selection of quests from throughout WoW's history, with a voiceover from Cho himself that basically talks to you about what is
Wow.
happening and why it's happening. Basically, Blizzard have found a way to take old quest lines and stories, repackage them together, and then run their modern voice line driven approach over the top of all of that.
Okay, this is what I was searching for. This is what a lot of fans and people just loving the game. Not you, the people from Mythic Plus. Not you, the fucking like 2500 ranking on in arenas. But the people that actually no, you'll enjoy the game as well. But this is what we were searching for. I'm actually like redoing all the quests for my completion and stuff. But like this is what I call greatness. This is what I call greatness because this will allow for the average player to not have to fucking like go for YouTube video for you searching for obscure YouTube videos or go down to like old zones to fucking understand what the fuck is going on. Blizzard is doing the right choice because he understands the weight and the importance of the lore, and he understands that the players care about the lore of their game. And on this one, I cannot give more credit to Blizzard. This is a brilliant idea. This is a divine idea. They really never cease to amaze me.
Which basically means if you don't like reading the quest text, that's completely fine. Cho basically, well, he doesn't literally do it for you, but if you listen to him, you get a nice story. You don't have to do all of that pesky reading.
This as well, like the voice acting in WoW is actually like something really incredible, and I will take some time to actually talk about it someday. Well, like the voice acting is really fucking top notch. Is really fucking like great, and the fact that like you don't have to go over like a list or just like a bunch of like paragraph to fucking understand what's going on. It's also something that like they thought about, and they told themselves, no, we want to make the player experience, the adventure of our players in Azeroth more easier and more accessible, and this is what they did. I fucking love this initiative. I really fucking respect Blizzard Entertainment for thinking about the players, because on this one, this is how you can see that game publisher care about the players and it's not about their money or anything.
So you'll flow from quest to quest without getting a whole bunch of filler quests that back in the day would kind of confuse people, or, you know, mixing and matching between doing a random bit of a story, then another random bit, then getting lost, going to another zone, and forgetting the story that you started originally. You basically get to stay on a lovely single state of flow, doing quests that actually matter to your experience, all just one story. Now, you get rewarded as well. You'll get some endgame currencies like you do with regular world content, but also some insanely cool
Wow.
toys. Take a look at this. If you want Xalatath as a permanent voice in your ear, sure a lot of people do, well, you can get that.
No way. This is the item that I want.
Just experience her story.
Xalatath Pascal. Xalatath Pascal. I love Xalatath.
and you'll get that as a toy.
Marry
And
me.
what's neat is it's not just recaps. All 3 available ones have got extra content added, and the Arthas one is probably the best example. It's got whole new playable segments as Arthas. It's really neat. You get new insights into his life as a paladin first, then you run through the key parts of his life in existing quests, you experience the final showdown in Icecrown from his perspective, and it's
Wow.
really quite cool. It honestly feels
There's
like a
no
prototype for something new,
way.
and hearing that, I'm sure you want to hop in and try it. It actually feels like a new experience.
I want to
within the game,
jump
not one that's
into
just
it.
make your gear number go up. Pretty cool.
Like this is wow, this is exactly what something that this is something that WoW was missing when it comes to lore. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. This is exactly what WoW needed. Like they needed something to kind of like allow the average player to connect to the lore without having to do all this like mm, let's say researches that are like outside the game to fucking like understand what's going on. And they actually thought about it. This is brilliant. This is the best news I got ever from Blizzard so far.
Cool. Now, the other ones are the obvious World Soul Saga catch-up bits, but they're done quite well. There's one in the Ethereals. It takes you through the original Outland quest stuff, so you do some ancient quests while Cho tells you about Koresh. Of course, he does take the opportunity to give you some gentle little nudges, like questioning if Dementius was really killed that day in Outland. Spoilers, he wasn't. We'll probably kill him next expansion. Cho even takes you further to learn about the brokers in the Shadowlands, and, well, we've done a whole lore video on it, but basically it's the connection between the brokers and the Ethereals. It's really cool. And honestly, even just the concept of it being just a story that is, you know, retold, but with Cho, that feels really good. I'll leave the details for you.
Yeah, because Cho is quite the real man. I don't know what the fuck his Cho is, but like is a really fucking fantastic, like legendary card, like just like a emblematic. It's just an emblem of like Hearthstone. So yeah, I believe him on this word.
There will be an upcoming lore video and all of that stuff, but more importantly today, we need to talk about how this can save WoW's story. There's a big thing you may have noticed.
So I don't think that like the story of WoW needs to be saved, but it's more preserved. Like the fact that like there's so much beautiful stories, like the story of Icecrown, right? The story of Illidan, that like new average player playing retail will never get to experience and never get to understand, because it takes you like it's either you do all the quests and you read all the fucking quests, or you fucking buy a book, or you watch lore videos, right? And in this, if you can like, here's the thing, if your game can allow itself to fucking like experience the stories and fix problems within the game, this is what I call good game design and good game direction.
Looking at our footage, right? This is not just endgame. This is available to level 10 characters. You get full XP the whole time you're
Wow.
questing. So
on top of that, you get to fucking experience it level early. This is grandiose. This is like something that will change WoW forever. The same way but different way that player housing will change WoW. Just because player will be invested in the story for once, and they will not run through dungeons like mindlessly, not understanding what the fuck is going on.
I think here's the vision. Imagine that instead of locking fresh characters to the latest expansion, which definitely will like cause issues in The Last Titan and beyond, well, use a feature like this, right, to level up your characters. And here's why I think it works in a way that Chromie Time never really could. Chromie Time was a neat way to scale the world down, but you don't really get a story experience doing it. I mean, come on, it's so absurdly fast.
Wait, Chromie Time. Okay, so this actually, I was actually asking myself if you can like scale down some world Chromie Time. Wow. Okay. Let me just check my voice.
Though feels like a version 2 of that, but instead of of being left
Okay.
to your own devices, you get a curated, narrated story experience. That actually feels like a bit of content that's worth paying for. Currently, there are 3. We know there's going to be at least 1 more, and you can't imagine just picking another one and another
My
until the
best
max
girl
level. We're just
I'll
getting
get it.
brilliant
Oh
story content.
my.
And the potential here is insane. Literally, on any topic you can imagine, Blizzard can pick the quests, then let show talk the player through all of them while you get to stay in the flow, just doing your questing. And if they want to add in any little lore cutscenes or updates, as we've seen them do already, Blizzard can just go and do that. And this way, they might finally do what we've wanted for years. Campaigns that include the likes of raids and dungeons. I mean, with the tech they've made for story mode and this framework, it does feel like this is the start of a storytelling revamp, the like of which we didn't really think we were ever going to get. Imagine, for example, a full Garrosh campaign. Maybe it starts in Nagrand in the Burning Crusade. Thrall meets Garrosh. Cho tells you about the history of Grom. It takes you through the key quests and Cataclysm.
And this allows for like new content that actually brings you relevant items, stuff, and like fluff. So toys, mounts, but this allows you for also like a different type of like gaming experience and this allows the game developers to actually like tell stories, retell stories, and actually keep updated anyone who wants to actually fucking understand the lore of WoW. Because technically you can like play WoW and not understand what the fuck is going on at all and still like do progress, right? But some people want to, but it's too complicated. And WoW on this one really thought about the average player, and this is what I like, because I am not the average player. If you watch this video, you are most likely not the average player. But the average player is someone in between, like in teenage years to just like an average gamer that just want to have fun playing video games, and that is used to story-driven games where like things are like explained well and that are not complicated to like decipher, right? Here they actually do the effort for these players, and these players bringing these players to the community and allowing them to be more active within the community. Well, this is something that will make the game better and greater in every way, because like we miss you, average players in Mythic plus stands. We miss you in our raids, we miss you in our PvP, and we're sad that you are struggle. We are sad that like you struggle to understand, and we're sad that we are not able to help you. Like as a guild master, like it is my biggest pleasure to help my guildmates. It is my biggest pleasure to tell them how to do stuff. And most of like the veteran players, most of the elite players are just like me, man. Are just like me, friend.
Where you get to see him unravel, right? Become, well, a bit more like Garrosh. Cho then gets to add in little details about the pressure that Thrall was putting him under. Then you hit Pandaria, you watch the fallout of Theramore, you see his madness come to light, and finally put an end to him in the Siege of Orgrimmar in a story mode like fight. And then, of course, you watch Thrall, just hit the execute button over in Draenor. So you could get that all with no fluff, and with Lore Walker Cho's brilliant voice acting to just give you all the missing bits and tie it all together. Think about that in terms of new player experience. They actually get to see a full story arc happen in the world of Warcraft, as opposed to right now where they're yoked into dragonflights and
Yeah, and or you need to go to a low level zone to actually like start to do your questing. But the problem is that like the low level zone feel like too old. There's no players in here, and at the same time you kind of like doing this all by yourself, and you're not guided within like all this nonsense. Well, back in the day, it was during the releases, it was, well, there was that, but at the same time you had like other people that were pushing for new dungeons, and other people that were doing the world events, right, and stuff like that. Well, this is actually a revolution. This is actually a revolution.
don't really know what's going on with anything. And not to fully spoil a project we've been working on for quite a while, but this is a real problem for World of Warcraft. Having recently leveled a fresh account for a reason you'll find out soon in a video, we just as a team realized that it really does suck for a new player. Dragonflight is not a bad expansion, but going from Exile's Reach to Dragonflight to the War Within is pure insane crazy whiplash. Now, Holly recently talked about wanting to revamp the new player experience. I think this could be a fairly major part of that, and I think this could make the modern game story actually make sense to people, and to do that without asking for the dozens of hours that it takes to get the Lore Walker achievement. Because let's be real, a lot of the people who get the Lore Walker achievement have just race through the quest really quickly to get the achievement. They may not actually know all of what's going on. Here, though, you get slices of WoW's best story.
And this is the reality. It's not like they don't care or they don't. It's just that like WoW is such a rich game that like you have so much to discover when it's come to storytelling. That like it was a shame. I hope this will be released soon. It's just that like there is so much adventures that you missed because you weren't there, because you quit, because you had something to do. That like this is really something that like, but the stories themselves are really fucking beautiful and really fucking like well thought out. So this is a great improvement for WoW. This is my favorite game. So like seeing like ways to access, because I will actually like undergo all the old zones questing just for myself to make it like actually fun for me and to actually understand what's going on. But the average player will not do it. The new player will not do it because it just simply don't have like the education, don't have the skill, don't have like the time to fucking do that, don't have the motivation to do that. And with this will actually bring them up to speed and like bring them to enjoy the game the same way we as elites within the game are enjoying the game, and they'll get to understand why some people are like still doing 10 mythic plus 10 and still going to the same raid where they get fucking like trashed on, just like fucking insulted for no reasons, just because they love the game so much, you know?
Story retold with more flair and in bite-sized chunks that are understandable. For the modern day, for the modern game, that essentially sounds like a perfect thing for Blizzard to have.
Absolutely.
So, what's there is great, the promise is even better, but yeah, I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but I gotta say it. We don't always have the most faith in Blizzard following up on potential here, right? Just think about the history. Now, to their credit, they're working hard to change that perception, but the track record is a little bit spotty. Don't get me wrong, they are improving features over time, but that tends to find the most success whenever they fail a few times and then kind of start again from scratch. I suppose my greatest fear with lore walking is that it happens now, and then it's kind of dropped as soon as its immediate utility goes away.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of immediate utility to this. Who knows if they'll have Arthas be relevant again, but as for the other two campaigns, well, the Xal'atath one explains a major part of the main villain right now, and
But I think that like it won't be if they are already like pushing for like old content, like if they are like understanding what good content is and what they're willing and able, and what is allowable, like logic, like what they can allow themselves to reuse. Like the visions of Anzoth do not feel out of place within the world within. And so I think that like it's just about like the response of the players, but like I think that like the response will be great because there is like this silent majority that just fucking love the game, is not are not fucking degenerates that just that fucking complains all the time, and that will fucking like give them a response. At least that's what I hope, because like this is the type of content that I'm searching for when it comes to playing, because this takes me away from like all the stress and all the fucking like time investment, and like just like fun investment that I need to do to actually get what I want from the game.
And the ethereal stuff almost certainly explains the next patch. You can see there's an obvious utility there, so the fear is that Blizzard won't really make these for the sake of making them. That does concern me a little bit, but I only fear that because of Lore Walking's promise, that it could finally solve the problem with World of Warcraft's lore, to take what is not in WoW and actually put it in WoW. And this includes
And this is true. When like this sounds too great to be true, and I understand this doubts.
Countless huge moments, character stories that people would enjoy, vocal performances that could cut through and actually rebuild people's emotional connection with Warcraft. And so far, there are
Absolutely.
3 in game: Xal'atath, Ethereals, and the Arthas stuff. And there is data mining as well. That data mining points to there being a 4th, Quel'Thalas. Now that's where Midnight, our next expansion, is
Whoa.
going to be set. And if Blizzard gets these right, it will be properly exciting. I mean, people love Final Fantasy XIV for its stories, both the MSQ and one-off stuff. And not just
Absolutely.
because it's Final Fantasy and people think about
Lore Walker, no, Shadow Walker, or like whatever the fuck. One of my guildies told me that like it was such a great story, driven over like 10 years, and the payoff was so great. Like driven over a couple of years, and then the payoff was so great. So yeah, allow WoW to fucking like in like the game developers wrote such a beautiful story. Allow people to fucking discover it easily, because the products, the art, the miracle is already there. It's just like make it easy for people to discover it.
like Final Fantasy and narrative. No, because it tends to be really good and they've come to expect it with new patches. So, Blizzard, you can actually rebuild the narrative credibility. You can imbue all the gamey elements of WoW that we have fun playing with a new sense of meaning by getting people back into the narrative. And I think in doing so, Blizzard will get more bang for their buck. They'll turn fair weather players into emotionally invested fans. And if they want this franchise to be around for the long haul, that's what they need to do. I think this system is a perfect way to do that. And I mean, hey, you can actually say to somebody, maybe you want to get your friend into World of Warcraft and they know about the Lich King. You'll be able to say, oh, well, actually, when you make a new character, you
It's actually such a great news. For once, not only I see Bellular being happy, but I see a good news from the WoW devs. I've seen a couple of good newses, but like on this one, wow, this is really, 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 really fucking great. Like, I really, really want to fucking like check this out. Okay, all right. Let's keep on going. Apparently, new classes got like leaked, so let's check this out. For like the new expansions.
All right, so here's the deal. You've probably seen this German survey making the rounds, and for good reason, because the implications it carries are pretty damn heavy. And not just heavy, they're actually exciting. So, assuming this is not an elaborate hoax, and we have many reasons to believe that it is not, well, Blizzard basically want to know what their players think about classes, specifically new classes. This was posted by Chromie.de. It was translated by Enrif on MMO Champion, and with it, we've got a list of what Blizzard thinks is coming next. That's new classes, and of course, just like how Legion brought the Demon Hunter, we also get loads and loads of World Soul Saga lore hints and that sort of thing. It is an absolute hell of a list, but for something you can actually play literally right now, check out today's sponsor. They're a self-funded indie MMO that after 5 years in the oven are finally ready, and if you've had my gaming history, Corepunk will snipe you. So, it's a new MMORPG, it's hit early access, and I'm very happy to say its feature set's awesome. So here's the deal. You have a massive isometric, seamless open world that is of course packed with secrets, POIs, story, enemies, all the good stuff, but importantly, inspired by the ideals of old school MMOs, so it doesn't just turn into a modern, like, follow the quest marker type of game. That is so important, and I think WoW Classic proves that's what a lot of people want. And that sense of exploration is then doubled down on by their Fog of War system that, like a MOBA or an RTS, basically means you don't know what's around the corner. It's great for the sense of exploration and discovery, and all with gorgeous artwork that certainly, as an admirer of a lot of Blizzard's work, I absolutely vibe with. And where it gets real neat is combat, because they're cooking on that. Corepunk plays like a MOBA, right? So you've got your basic click attacking, click moving, you've got full MOBA abilities like skill shots and everything, and a wealth of gameplay customization with 8 passive skill trees and weapon spec talents. All that comes together to actually be fresh in the MMO combat space. And it's got something that cuts to my youth. I can, again, in an isometric game, chop down a lot of trees. You see, they have got professions that are inspired by RuneScape and World of Warcraft. And in the world, that means the likes of logging, mining, herbalism, cooking, all that good stuff. It's just one of those games where you can chill out and sink into a big rich world, both solo and in a group, and they're rolling out seasons of fully voiced narrative, and most of all, developing with the community, with extensive alpha testing already having happened, and loads of changes and all that good stuff. And the best news is you can check it out and play it today with my link down below. You can hop into the early access and get stuck in. This game is a breath of fresh air. Getting stuck into the list, first of course, we've got the Tinker, the one that probably needs no introduction.
Oh,
we've
the
always imagined
Tinker,
Tinker to be
yes.
a goblin or a gnome, but this version is basically Blizzard asking about a tank, healer, and DPS that uses
So basically, a Tinker would be like a hunter, but with like sentries, so meaning like mini turrets, right? And maybe probably like a companion that is a machine as well. That and a lot of like cool gadgets. So this will be really fucking cool.
of all things Titan technology, which of course if you think about mechanomes does make plenty of sense. That means mech suits, robot summons, and even something that they call inventions, which are custom-made spells. That sounds awesome, and if Blizzard wants to sell copies, well, I think that'll actually get people's interest. Now, another obvious
Absolutely.
entry is the Necromancer. We don't have much of a description here because everybody knows what a Necromancer does, and I think everyone wants to play one. You see, Demonology Warlock is one form of what some other MMOs would call a Horde class. World of Warcraft hasn't actually had a pure Horde class in the way that some other games have, so yeah,
It
there
is
some
true.
overlap, obviously, with Demonology.
Necromancer
and
could
but I
be
do think it's something Blizzard could actually pull off.
great.
Moving on then, the survey brings up the Bard, but not just some random fella with a lute. No, this time it is them using the Song of Azeroth for their magic, and it's Blizzard again suggesting another tank, healer, and DPS combo class, one that is specifically focused on support. So basically, it would be taking all of their augmentation evoker, like learnings, and kind of weaving that into a big full class. And look, I know when most people think of a Bard, they think of some fella at a tavern. I totally get that, but if Blizzard were to do it in that way, I actually think it would feel.
But you never saw a fucking bot with an Arcanic Reaper. If you know, you know. It's like a heavy metal like axe that is like an electric guitar. That will be fucking sick as fuck on a bard.
Unique to World of Warcraft, unique to the setting, unique to the lore, and that would actually help it stand apart. Okay, the next two then are fan favorites. They're pretty simple. There's the Warden, which would be using chat rooms and traps at mixed range, and then the very long-awaited Spellbreaker, which would basically be an anti-magic melee that would be enchanting their own gear. That all sounds pretty damn awesome. Now, this list also does just totally go off the rails. There are some ones that jumped out as just being crazy, but they kind of make sense. Titan Killer and Prismatic. Now, Titan Killer is said to combine Teshalak and Gorabal, which are the swords of Agramar and Sargeras, to create their true form, Gorshalak the Dark Render. And that's pretty cool because if you know the lore, that is the semi-sentient sword that broke itself into pieces whenever Sargeras went mad in order to
Titan Killer,
wow. Cool, crazy stuff. They would basically be connecting to cosmic powers of the Titans to defend Azeroth.
Wow, a new type of energy.
Concept does sound pretty damn cool. That being said, is that a full class? Maybe the anti-Titan version of the Demon Hunter? Or is that something that's a bit more of a warrior hero talent? The same with Prismatic as well. Prismatics are, quote, heirs to titanic power, who can use their purest powers of the cosmos like life, order, death, and shadow to heal, tank, and DPS. And again, to me that sounds like, I mean, maybe a class, but also perhaps a bit of a mage hero talent tree, or an advanced class, something like that. Because of course many games do have advanced classes on top of what they usually ship. Plus, there's a very heavy focus here on the power coming from the Titans and from Azeroth. Another example is Leyweaver. That's another advanced mage sounding class that's found in this survey. It uses ley lines to teleport about the place, as well of course as to heal, DPS, and support. There's also the Artificer, which in the survey specifically calls out to using Artificer and Titan technology.
This will be interesting as well.
Again, does sound a little bit like a Titan tinker, but within its description there are some real exciting touches, things like extendable flails and reactive shields. Sounds kind of awesome. And then there's the Witch, and this is really, really cool. It would be using dark magic like troll voodoo, the Drust magic, all of that decay stuff that we saw the Gnolls use in Dragonflight. All of
that could be interesting.
Sick. And then after that, there's a few more generic ones like the Gunner and the Gunslinger, which would both be dual-wielding pistols. Hell yes to that. The Gunner would be using elemental buffs on their guns and ammo, while the Gunslinger would just be shooting enemies. And honestly, after playing a whole bunch of Mercenary and Path of Exile 2, oh, hell yeah, I could do with that. Now, there's also another one in this, the Apothecary. It's another healer, support, and
Wow.
that they combine. And there's also Battle Mage, which of all of these just sounds a little bit undercooked. There's a quick empowering weapons with elements. And
what makes you dream?
Which
Makes you dream.
like a mage-ish enhancement shaman, so don't really know if that'll be a thing. Then we've got two that distinctly don't feel like World of Warcraft. They're quite cosmic-y though, so there's the Astrologian. If you're a Final Fantasy player, you'll know that. It's a spellcaster using stars and gravity magic, which basically just sounds like an advanced arcane mage. And then the Celestial Lancer. That would be a melee that leaps about the place using spears and titan magic. Again, if you play Final Fantasy XIV, you'll know that's basically a Dragoon. So you might be wondering then, Michael, what the hell? That is so much stuff. How could Blizzard put anywhere near any of this into the game? Well, that's a good question. The answer here to all of this is Blizzard, well, they have ideas, but they don't have a firm direction, and that is why they're doing a survey. Surveys like this are designed to find out what kind of fantasies would land the hardest with players. And to make sense of that, we just need to look to the past. Look at the Evoker, right? That landed to a mixed at best response. It was a mid-range Twink Dragon caster, whenever what most people wanted was basically some extremely roided up, muscle-bound, crush-my-face daddy Chad dragon, which is obviously what they didn't get. So the idea of Blizzard heavily market testing, seeing what ideas gel with people, that's pretty damn obvious. They want to drop this news on a stream or, say, Gamescom next year and have the crowd explode with joy. If the Midnight expansion isn't to have a new class, this is them teeing up the big things that they want to do with The Last Titan. And if Midnight is giving us player housing as its big back-of-the-box feature, well, maybe Blizzard do decide to go as hard as they can on classes for The Last Titan. I would certainly sell copies of the game. Going back to the survey, though, we know which ones that they would most likely want to give us because it asks about those in more detail before asking for rankings of the rest. And those are Prismatic Bard, Gunner, and Astrologian. So the questions here are specifically in the Warcraft universe. How interested the player filling out the survey would be in playing it, and how adding that would basically impact their World of Warcraft experience. That's what they've got for those, but for the rest of the concepts, they basically just show you a few things and ask you which you would be most likely or unlikely to play. Okay, let's take our hype meters down and try to discuss this a little bit more rationally. So the next question is when, and the answer is again obvious, it's The Last Titan. Midnight is just over a year or so away. I know that sounds crazy, but that is actually how the dates are lining up, and we already know about the player housing. If Blizzard were asking about class concepts for Midnight, that would basically mean that they would be deciding on that and making a whole class in time for alpha, which, I mean, to call that too fast would be putting it lightly. Though it is of course true that for World of Warcraft's history, we used to get a class every other expansion, but that trend did stop with Shadowlands. It was the first odd-numbered expansion to ship without one, so they did kind of break the pattern there. And with hero talents and warbands this expansion and player housing taking up the marketing banner in Midnight, I think it does track that The Last Titan would need a class to actually spice it up and get people excited. And that would obviously explain how Azeroth and Titan stuff is just deeply rooted in all of these different concepts. Every new class that we've ever gotten in World of Warcraft was tied directly to the story of the expansion that it shipped in. So it is really all lining up. And if we assume that there are things we could just cut out of the list, right? Like Witch, Apothecary, Battle Mage, they're quite generic.
Bard will be great.
Scream, The Last Titan.
It's generic.
Expansion where you do the JRPG thing and kill God at the end. So that's them ruled out. I think it would also rule out the Warden, Spellbreaker, and Necromancer. I think players would love those, but again, they don't really scream the story. If Spellbreaker was to happen, you'd probably tie that to the Quel'Thalas revamp, but, well, having that for Midnight does seem pretty damn ambitious. The Gunner and Gunslinger are worth talking about, though, because you might think those are extra unlikely. Adding, say, one-handed guns as whole new weapons in WoW would be a bit of a big step, but honestly, they did that in Legion with Demon Hunter, so that
with Warglaves.
Taking everything into account then, based purely on the survey, I would say the most likely one is probably Bard, right?
Yes,
That's the one that
Bard
we'll
will
ask
be
about specifically
awesome.
through the survey questions.
It is
And
so
I think to most
unique. There is
generic or general
nothing.
MMO players, it's very recognizable, far more so than Prismatic. People wouldn't really know what to make of that. I don't
Yeah.
Radiant Song, it just fits Bard. It would make sense. There's actually a
Absolutely.
reason why the Bard's music would be magical and powerful, as opposed to just, your mates are all just hopped up and good vibes and they're hitting harder. Though with Bard, I'm very keen to know like what kind of weapon they would use. How would that actually function? So, an interesting problem, especially because it would be a supporting tank healer and DPS. Bards are traditionally similar to rogues. They tend to fight with very simple weapons, but then use support magic, like say the bards in FF, which use a bow. So how Blizzard spins that would be pretty interesting, especially when it comes to giving 3 specs and then hero talents. The next question then is, these are all really cool, why are we only getting one of them? Could Blizzard do more? My personal hope, actually, is that these ideas are a mixture of hero talents, new specs, and new classes. I mean, we already know that Blizzard are going to expand hero talents. The system is kind of designed so they could do that. So thinking of it in a way like suddenly Titan Killer as a warrior, or maybe a Demon Hunter, makes total sense. Witch being a Shaman hero talent makes sense. I mean, Gunslinger is a 4th rogue spec. That would also be pretty cool. Could Blizzard add some new specs to the game?
Actually, good points. Actually, good point. 4th
To
talents.
make rogues have a 4th. Now,
Yeah.
setting aside some balance concerns for a minute, I think the game could just do with more fantasies being opened up to players. And this would work.
Absolutely.
I mean, just to mention it, it's important that Blizzard keep bringing out tank and healer specs as well. New exciting classes will not stop the population issues alone, but if Blizzard can fix the problems that tanks and healers are currently facing, I mean, a new class, that could really get people excited to try out the role. And it would also mean the unique challenges of tanking and healing could be approached from different design angles, which, of course, could appeal to more players. But there is something to keep in mind here: methodology. This is one survey. Nobody else has shared their survey yet, but you see, surveying users, especially across different languages, audiences, countries, is a complicated and actually fascinating business. To get proper data, you need to send out a load of surveys,
And the surveys has to be answered, and you never know what the fuck answers you. Well, I'll tell you, if we get a fucking bard, like a true supporting class, that will be great. That will be like a new milestone for WoW, because like supporting classes is something that is really missing to WoW, and that will really make the game greater, because it will create a whole new different landscape when it comes to the classic DPS tank healer, right? DPS tank healer support will be the best thing. Will be the best thing.
And I mean, that surveys that will often have different combinations to work around the biases of different users. So this could only be a small fraction of what Blizzard are actually thinking about. Or it could be that their heart is actually just set on one and they want to make sure that people are down for it. That's, of course, if the survey is real at all. Chromie.de were the people who were posting it. They did imply that multiple players actually sent them in. And indeed, I regularly get in my email surveys that people send in. And very often, those surveys can't really just be posted verbatim online, because these surveys actually, they will basically say, this is confidential, please do not share. I know it's a little bit like saying, oh, this is my OC, do not steal. People will do whatever they want on the internet. But the point is that often the specific language, even the ordering of questions, can be done to be decently identifiable. And I know a lot of people would say, well, why don't you just look at the forum, look at videos, what people are actually talking about, and get your ideas from there? You see, the thing about these surveys is Blizzard has got one of the most gargantuan email lists on the planet, right? They have millions and millions and millions of emails. So they could send one of these to people who are current subscribers of the game. They could send one of these emails to people who only play Classic. They could send these emails, these surveys, to people who haven't played the game in 5 years. And that will tell.
They could send the game to all the people that left like hateful comments about the game before they left. Why don't they choose that?
How different segments of World of Warcraft's overall population actually, vibe with all of these different ideas. So it's exciting stuff, and if I was a betting man, I would absolutely say we will be getting new class content in the Last Titan expansion. I think
it is really exciting. It is really exciting stuff. And I think that like overall, like these are like the changes that I really hope for. Like Bella really did a great job. Give this guy money, make him keep him busy. Like this man is a legend, and it really like help improve the community. Even though I understand why the fuck he is like sometimes a little bit like jaded or toxic about the game, because I absolutely understand the state of the game right now, and it must be difficult to not get what you want, and actually like invest so much time in the game to the point where like you just want like some novelty and no nonsense allowed, you know. Okay, so let's get to more WoW. Actually, from who? From Blizzard itself, actually. To talk about game design. Game design from like from WoW. So this is actually like really, really cool. Let's check this out.
Hi, I'm Kayla Brown, and I am a game producer on World of Warcraft. I work alongside many of our amazing developers and help shepherd a lot of our features and content from their very early concept stages all the way through to launch when they go live to players. The team and I are really excited to be showcasing Dastardly Duos. We really wanted to aim as a team to focus on creating an experience that was fresh, fast-paced, and a bit zany, wany, and wacky, that our players can really just jump right in and experience that nostalgic factor.
New
when
content,
battling
actually.
against some of our classic old fan favorite bosses. It is a 6-week event, and it is hosted by no other than our good old pal Vinny Sweets. Players will be able to enter into the Dastardly Dome, where they will be able to face off against many of our legendary foes of old in the attempt to kind of get the best high score they possibly can. Players can queue up all on their own. They can kind of lone wolf it if they wish to, or they can queue in with other champions. That could be their friends, guildies, strangers, up to them. To do so, they would go
Swore enemies as well, for like the really hardcore people that have no fucking chill.
and visit Ziggy Maru in one of the local event hubs that we have located either in Stormwind, Orgrimmar, or Dornogal. So the team really wanted to put their passion into creating something that can kind of be fun and approachable to everybody. We also find a lot of value in creating a space that even just our most casual players can kind of just dive in there and really have a good instant fun moment, while also trying to make sure that we kind of put in there some layers of challenge. We kind of did this with Dastardly by using a lot of those wacky, crazy, zany elements and mechanics. And this way it makes folks have to be a little bit more creative when it comes to how they're going to get their next best high score. People want to keep an eye out because Vinny will be dishing out brand new quests every single week for the duration of the event. And of course, upon completion of these quests, players will be rewarded with really new and exciting loot. Some of that being the Tyranotort mount, as well as the spicy meanball pet, and of course, the illustrious winner's podium, where players will actually be able to utilize it to show off and compare their best high scores with other players.
Yeah, and being able to show off that like healer and tanks, we deserve more respect because we did most of the work for the team and no one used a fucking single defensive spell as a DPS, while what they could, and made our life easier. Thank you. This was my complaint as a fucking Death Knight tank trying to fucking get better at Mythic Plus.
My name is Pat Nagel. I'm a designer on the World of Warcraft team. Specifically the
Utilize it to
Pat Nagel. I'm a designer.
Okay, so Pat Nagel, I actually didn't knew that this dude is actually still working for for Blizzard, but this dude is so legendary that he has his own Hearthstone card. He has his own Hearthstone card. So this is him. Pat Nagel, see? Pat Nagel, not Pegel. I'm pretty sure it's yeah, Pat Nagel, not Pagel. He has his own PNG in the game. He is an OG. He is quite the fucking like legend when it comes to WoW, especially if you played some Hearthstone.
On the World of Warcraft team, specifically the Live Games Initiative section of the World of Warcraft team. So I was the head designer, I suppose, for Dastardly Duos. So I kind of came up with the concept, implemented a lot of it. You know, if being the only designer on it, I had to wear a lot of different hats. So I really like nostalgia. My formative years were kind of in the 1980s, you know, back when there were arcades that were like coin operated. You know, go to a place and
You must
play
have
video games,
loved
or
the
you just
bandit
pumping quarters in, trying to get
raid
better and
boss.
better. I wanted to bring that to WoW, to Dastardly Duos. I had some big inspirations from the 80s, like Running Man was a great one. It's kind of a, you know, whimsically dystopian, violent, but sort of fun, you know, movie. The video game Smash TV, that was a huge inspiration. But also things like Thunderdome, just you know, a lot of people into an arena, everyone's watching, kind of like a fun gladiatorial pit. So those were some really big ones. One of the fun parts of Dastardly Duos is that you're fighting multiple bosses at the same time. We're kind of throwing them all into the mix. That was why it was important to choose things like, you know, very distinct silhouettes, to choose mechanics that you could distinguish between the bosses. And even if a certain boss, you know, doesn't have a complicated mechanic, the fact that you're fighting 2 or 3 or 4 bosses at the same time is where that depth comes.
Yes! Victory for our champions!
When we first started building Dastardly Duos, it was group-only content. And in the back of my mind, I knew that, you know, that was like a real blind spot for us. But we were able to use the follower bots. I mean, when you enter the Dastardly Dome with less than 5 players, it will summon the follower bots to kind of fill out your party. So it gave me my 4 friends, and I'm a mage, so it made sure that I had a tank. You can dismiss the followers, and that factors into the score. You're gonna get like a lot more points than if you had the bots.
Oh, nice.
Dastardly Duos solo is gonna let a lot more people play, I think. We did not worry much about
With horrific visions, the fucking like flame oh my fucking goddess, the Hall of Fall purifying flame event, and this is so many events. This is so great. This adds so much fucking much to the game. I'm so grateful for these designers that are so motivated to keep the game alive, well, and healthy, and just like keep like pushing content
the power level.
and fun content for the average player, not for you, not for me. Not for me, I enjoyed this one, but like for players that actually still have fun playing this game.
Of our power-ups. So we have some that are really, really good for this mode, but you can only use it when you're fighting in Dastardly Duos. So we really leaned into that. Before you start the fight, you can go to the craft service table. There's some food there, and this is where you can decide what power-ups or some of the power-ups you want. Like here's the big beefy burger. It makes you big and strong, take less damage. Cake from a fan. It makes you run real fast. And this works kind of like a loadout. You can only have 1 food imbibed at once, but there's a second loadout over here for potions. Here's the vial of healing. If you're drinking that, then you kind of regenerate health as you play. The bottle of invisibility, make you turn invisible every time you jump. We wanted to just not constrain like the power level of these power-ups. Almost any idea that as we're doing playtests, I'm thinking like, oh, that's probably something we could do. And I just kind of put it in and we try it out, start the match here. And there's a few different phases. This is the trash phase. You and your followers are gonna fight trash. You wanna destroy props because there's things underneath them. Each wave, there's 2 bosses at once. There is certainly a lot of chaos in the fight. And we get that chaos by basically throwing a lot of monsters at the players. You could be fighting 20 or 30 monsters all at the same time, but you have the abilities to do it. And after you've killed 2 rounds of bosses, that's it for the fight. And then you get your end chest. You see your score screen. This is the score I got, 189,000. That would be reflected here. So when you're in front of the podium, it'll tell you a couple things. Your high score and your last score. You can stand on the winner's podium, and if multiple people people are standing on it, it will kind of make you jump around. If you have the highest score, you're going to be at the top. If you have the lowest, you're going to be at the bottom. Dastardly Duos is accessible to people who might not be the best WoW players, but they can still play and win. However, their score might not be as high as someone who is really good. And
Yeah, but these are like just like the delves are really good pathways, so just like learning curves, so good subcategories of content that allows you to become like this great WoW player, to become like part of this greater fantasy, and like with like all this like and the Mythic Plus and the rating and the PvP and the arenas. This is a great way for new players to experience this without the pressure, and then be able to, when they feel ready, to fucking like get into this nightmare that you call like social gaming. Yeah. Where people fucking leave because someone sneezed, or like someone coughed, or someone read my name out loud. My name is cursed. That's why if you read my name out loud, it makes you want to leave the party right away. But this is a secret that I keep to try to fucking avoid, because I'm building my own guild. But anyway.
learns like not only how to play their character really well, but how to use scoring within Dastardly Duos really well. And there's lots of ways you can get double scores, triple scores. It can go up to millions of points if you kind of know not only how to play WoW really well, but how to kind of take advantage of the scoring system. There's a power up where you can eat food that gives you a handicap, but the game knows that you have that handicap, so it gives you extra points. There's new rewards every week, so when you show up, you can play Dastardly Duos and you get a new toy, a mount, the winner's podium. But in addition to that, the content, the bosses that you fight each week, it grows. In that first week, there's only 4 bosses, but by the end, you can fight up to 10. And that was a big part. The kind of increase in bosses each week kind of folds into the scoring system. You have more things.
I will say this for the veterans of WoW, everyone fucking loved the arenas back in the day. Do you remember Negrin's arena and Northrend arena? It was great, right? It's coming back, baby. It's coming back, my friend. Like the fucking arenas, like back in the day, these were like ways to get a couple levels like really easily, and people love these arenas. So this is a great fucking like good add to WoW. Just like an arena where like it keeps on going, and you need to survive waves, you know.
To get more points. So we think that players' scores will kind of creep up week after week.
My name is CG. I work for the WoW QA team. I'm on the live game team, and I test a lot of the new experimental features, among them Dastardly Duos. So we kind of look at the feature as a whole and break down all the different aspects of it and make sure that all the different parts of it are tested from all of the different groups that we have in QA. One way we kind of approach it is like looking at it from what aspects are new to the game and how do we want to test those, and what aspects are already exists, and kind of pull those aspects in for previous testing, as well as developing new test plans about how we want to test a feature that's completely new. One of the foods that we have is the shrimp, and when you eat the shrimp, you kind of shrink down, you do less damage and you take more damage. We would call it shrimping, and so everybody would go in and they'd eat the shrimp and they'd be like these smaller characters and go and try to fight and just see how that would react. I'm gonna have the challenging shrimpy fish. It's gonna shrink me down. Then later on we added another challenging food, the hot dog. So when you eat that, you kind of get indigestion. You get ×2 kill and survival bonus, but sometimes you get gassy and you can knock back the players behind you. So that's kind of like a fun little bit of chaos that we added into the arena. Also, one of the things that we have was the Bullhorn of Calling, and that allows you to summon in an extra boss. So if you want to go for a higher score, you can use this Bullhorn and just pop in another boss at any time. And one of the things our QA UX folks did is they just kept using Bullhorns, right? And so they just keep summoning in bosses. At a certain point, there is a point where you've killed every boss that can possibly summon, so then a wave of ads will come in, and then you get more points from those. And it gets pretty chaotic if you keep using those Bullhorns. So one of the things that we did do was we added a cap so that those can only cap out after you've summoned every single boss, and then a couple waves of ads, we did kind of try to look at like, what's this behavior like? What's a player going to do to try to get this higher score? And it's like, okay, well, you know, we want you to be able to have this chaotic fight, but you don't want it to go on forever and just get like, you know, accumulate score forever and be in the dome. But it still makes for a pretty fun experience when you're sitting there and you don't know if your teammate's going to summon one too, right? You both summon a new boss at the same time. Everything gets pretty hectic. Taming the chaos, but also embracing the chaos.
We're really excited to see all of the high scores really start to roll in, as well as see who kind of hits the tippy top of the winner's podium.
This was great. This is good, great new content. I'm really happy about the Dastardly Views. This is like the type of content that I really like, enjoy. And to add up to the Turkey invasions and to add up to the horrific visions, this will be great. I just wish that like they really create like a environment where like you actually get competitive items that are not just like for basically alts and rerolls, that can make you like just like they did with like horrific visions, giving you actually like a new, how is it called, just a new way to actually just like basically a new enchantment, right? A new enchantment for your realm that is actually really fucking good and that allows you to become a little bit just get something out of the game. So something like that, right? Anyway, okay, so I've done a couple reacts. I thought that like I'll go for more, but like I'm really fucking tired. Actually, I'm tired. Yeah, I'm really fucking tired on this one. So I will continue reacting to this to more later on. It's been a fucking blast. Actually, fucking good news is from WoW. Like this feels great. The game feels really healthy, and I think that like the game designers really understood and take the time to fucking listen to actually the average player. The average player that is usually not on the forums, not asking anything, just for the game to be understandable, easier to pick up, and just easier to have fun in. So this is what they do, and I think that this is great. Anyway, that was why. See you later. Be toxic.